Lisa Morgan stared at the large screen in United Earth Command headquarters, her hands gripping the edge of the conference table. The strange symbols flashing across the display were unlike anything humans had ever seen before. After decades of searching the stars and sending signals into the void, first contact had finally happened, but not in the way anyone had expected. "Can we translate it?" she asked, looking at the team of linguists and computer specialists working frantically at their stations. Dr. Alan Peterson, the lead linguist, nodded slowly. "The message contains its own translation matrix. They want to make sure we understand them perfectly." His voice held a mixture of awe and concern. John Reeves, Earth's chief diplomat, moved closer to the screen. At 55, with silver-streaked hair and deep lines around his eyes, he had spent his career preparing for this moment. "Whoever they are, they've studied us. They know our languages." The translation began to appear beneath the alien text. As the words formed into English, the room fell silent. "This is the Galactic Council, governing authority of civilized space in the Milky Way galaxy. Your world, designation Earth, has been monitored and classified as a developing technological society. In accordance with Council Directive 7293, all developing worlds must contribute to the collective security and prosperity of galactic civilization through appropriate tribute payments." Morgan and Reeves exchanged worried glances. "The Council requires Earth to provide annual tribute of the following resources," the message continued, listing various rare minerals, biological samples, and water in quantities that would strain Earth's production capabilities. "Your first tribute payment is expected within one standard galactic month. Council representatives will arrive at the edge of your solar system to collect. Compliance ensures protection and eventual consideration for associate membership. Non-compliance will result in sanctions." The message ended with detailed coordinates for the delivery and technical specifications for the expected tribute. "They're not asking," said Morgan, her voice tight. "They're demanding." Reeves nodded grimly. "And they're treating us like a colony, not an independent world." Morgan ordered the room cleared except for her most trusted advisors. Once the doors closed, she turned to the 5 people remaining. Reeves, Peterson, Defense Commander Samantha Powell, Science Director Eric Nelson, and her own second-in-command, Captain Peter Hayes. "Options?" Morgan asked, looking at each face around the table. Powell spoke first, her military training evident in her straight posture. "We could try to fight, but without knowing their capabilities, that would be suicide. We could comply," offered Nelson, adjusting his glasses. "At least for now, while we learn more about them. And set the precedent that Earth can be pushed around." Hayes shook his head. "Once we start paying tribute, they'll never stop demanding it." Reeves tapped his fingers on the table. "What if we negotiate? Try to reduce the demands or extend the timeline." "Negotiate from what position?" Morgan asked. "They clearly see us as inferior." Peterson, who had been quiet, finally spoke. "There's something strange about this message. It feels standardized, like a form letter. I don't think they know much about us at all beyond our basic technology level." Morgan considered this, so they might not know our true capabilities or resources. "Or our determination," Powell added with a slight smile. "Then we have an advantage," Morgan said, standing up straighter. "They've underestimated us. Humans don't respond well to bullies, even galactic ones." She walked to the window overlooking the sprawling command center below, where hundreds of Earth's brightest minds were now working to understand the alien message. "We have 1 month," she said, turning back to face her team. 1 month to figure out who these council members really are, what they truly want, and how Earth should respond. "I need options on my desk in 48 hours. Real options, not just submission." As the team began to disperse, Morgan called out to Powell. "And Commander, quietly put our forces on alert. If these council representatives are coming to our solar system, I want to know everything about them before they arrive." Powell nodded. "Yes, Admiral." Morgan looked once more at the message still displayed on the screen. Earth's first contact with alien life had come not with a greeting, but with a demand. How humanity responded would define their place in the galaxy for generations to come. The emergency meeting room buzzed with tension as world leaders filled the seats around the large oval table. Admiral Morgan stood at the front, waiting for everyone to settle. The room gradually quieted as the gravity of the situation sank in. 3 days ago, we received first contact from an organization calling itself the Galactic Council. Morgan began, her voice steady. They demanded tribute from Earth. Not requested, demanded. She played the translated message for the group. Faces darkened as the Council's requirements became clear. "This is robbery," said President Laura Grant of the North American Union, the first to speak after the message ended. "It's standard colonial practice," replied Dr. Alan Wright, stepping forward with several data tablets. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, he had spent the last 48 hours analyzing everything about the message. Throughout human history, powerful nations have demanded tribute from weaker ones. It seems the galaxy works the same way. Commander Samantha Powell, her uniform crisp despite not having slept in 2 days, pulled up a holographic display of Earth's defense systems. "We have 423 space-capable vessels, but only 89 with any meaningful weapon systems. We have orbital defense platforms around Earth and Mars, but nothing farther out. If their technology is even a century ahead of ours, we can't win a direct confrontation. So we just give them what they want," asked Secretary Wu from the Asian Alliance. Frowning, John Reeves shook his head. "That would be a mistake. Once you start paying tribute, the demands only increase. We've seen this pattern throughout human history. We need to understand who we're dealing with," Dr. Wright said, displaying images of various possible alien physiologies based on the message's technical specifications. The Council's message was generic, formulaic. "They're treating us like one of many developing worlds. This suggests they dominate numerous species, but it also means they might not know our true capabilities." Powell nodded. "Or our determination. Humans don't respond well to threats." "What if," Morgan said slowly, "we pretend to comply while gathering intelligence?" The room grew quiet as she continued. "We agree to their terms. We prepare a tribute shipment, but we use the opportunity to learn everything we can about them. Their technology, their species, their real intentions." President Grant leaned forward. "And then what?" "Then we decide whether to truly comply, negotiate, or—" Morgan let the alternative hang in the air. "I recommend we begin preparing a response immediately," Reeves said, "one that appears cooperative. Meanwhile," Powell added, "I'll quietly position our fleet throughout the solar system. Not as a threat, but as observers." Dr. Wright raised his hand. "I'd like permission to form a special research team. If we're going to understand the Council, we need to analyze everything about them. Biology, technology, culture, history, anything we can glean from their message in their ships when they arrive." Morgan nodded. "Do it. And I want everyone to understand, nothing about this leaves this room. The public doesn't need to panic, not yet." As the meeting continued, Ben Harris, Dr. Wright's young assistant, quietly transferred data between systems. Fresh out of MIT's xenobiology program, he'd been handpicked by Wright for his unconventional thinking. "Dr. Wright," he whispered as the others debated strategy, "I found something odd in the message coding." Wright glanced at Harris's tablet and frowned. "Show me later," he whispered back. After the meeting concluded, Morgan found herself alone with Powell and Reeves. "Do you think we can fool them?" Powell asked. Morgan shook her head. "No, but I think we can learn from them. And maybe, just maybe, surprise them. They've existed as a galactic power for who knows how long," Reeves said. "We've only been in space for a century. What could possibly surprise them?" Morgan smiled grimly. "Humanity has always been good at one thing: adapting. They expect submission. Let's show them something different." In his lab, Dr. Wright examined Harris' discovery, an embedded pattern in the Council's message that suggested it had been sent to dozens, perhaps hundreds of worlds with only minor modifications. "They're not just demanding tribute," Wright muttered. "They're harvesting resources on a galactic scale." Harris looked up from his computer. "But why? What does a civilization that advanced need with our resources?" "That," Wright said, "is exactly what we need to find out." Dr. Wright's lab hummed with activity as researchers analyzed every bit of data from the Council's message. Ben Harris moved between workstations, collecting findings and organizing them on the main display wall. 3 days had passed since the emergency meeting, and time was running short. "Look at this pattern," Harris said, pointing to a series of numbers. "The resources they're demanding from us match exactly what they asked from these other worlds." He displayed a chart showing similar tribute demands sent to 6 other planetary systems. Wright nodded, stroking his beard. "And all these worlds share certain characteristics, rich in minerals, water, and organic compounds, developing technology, but not advanced enough for faster-than-light travel." "They're like farmers harvesting crops," said Harris, his young face troubled. "They find worlds at our stage of development and drain them of resources." Wright pulled up another display showing the fate of worlds that had paid tribute for more than a century. "And look what happens eventually. Total resource depletion, or in some cases, complete takeover by Council species." "We need to tell Admiral Morgan," Harris said. Wright agreed. "Compile everything. Make it simple enough for non-scientists to understand." Across the solar system, Commander Powell's plans were also taking shape. Her office aboard the orbital defense station was small but efficient, much like Powell herself. Captain Olivia Martinez stood at attention before her desk. "Your mission is simple but dangerous," Powell said, sliding a data chip across to Martinez. "Take the scout ship Pathfinder to these coordinates. They're just beyond where the Council ships will arrive. Your official mission is to prepare for their arrival, but your real mission is intelligence gathering." Martinez, a compact woman with short brown hair and eyes that missed nothing, nodded. "What exactly am I looking for, Commander?" "Anything and everything. Ship capabilities, weapons systems, communication protocols. But most importantly, signs of weakness." Powell leaned forward. "This scout ship has our newest stealth technology. You should be invisible to their sensors, but take no unnecessary risks." "Understood. When do I leave?" "Immediately. You need to be in position before they arrive." As Martinez prepared to depart, Admiral Morgan was reviewing Wright's findings in her office. "So they're systematic predators," she said, flipping through the data. "They find worlds, extract resources, and move on. When does this cycle end?" "For some worlds, it doesn't," Wright explained. "They pay tribute for centuries, slowly depleting their resources. Others eventually get annexed completely. And some fight back." Wright's expression grew grim. "We found evidence of that too. Worlds that refused to pay tribute. The results weren't pretty." Morgan stared out her window at Earth below. "We can't just hand over our planet's future." "There might be another option," Reeves said, joining the conversation. "These Council records show internal conflicts. They're not as united as they want us to believe. There are 3 dominant species controlling the Council, but dozens of member species with varying levels of power. Classic empire structure," Morgan noted. "Core powers controlling everything, with outer worlds having less influence." "Exactly," Reeves said. "And where there's inequality, there's potential for division." The meeting was interrupted by an urgent message from Martinez aboard the Pathfinder. "Admiral," her voice came through clearly despite the distance, "I've reached the observation point. But I'm not alone out here." The video feed showed Martinez's tense face. "There's another ship hiding in the asteroid field. Not Council design. When they detected me, they sent a coded message. I think they're watching the Council too." Morgan exchanged looks with Wright and Reeves. "Can you make contact without revealing your position to the Council?" "I believe so. They're using a very directed communication beam. Do it, but be extremely careful. As they waited, Wright studied the grainy image of the unknown ship. That design. I've never seen anything like it. Hours later, Martinez reported back. Admiral, you won't believe this. They call themselves the Vexari. They're a species that's been paying tribute to the Council for over 50 years. They say, Martins paused, her expression a mixture of shock and hope. They say we're not alone in wanting to resist. There's an entire network of worlds secretly working against the Council, and they want to talk to us. Morgan's eyes narrowed. Tell them we're listening. Captain Martinez guided her small scout ship carefully alongside the alien vessel. Up close, the Vexari ship looked like a dark blue teardrop with strange symbols etched along its hull. Her heart pounded as she prepared for humanity's first face-to-face meeting with an alien species. Ready airlock for connection. She told her small crew of 4 specialists. Remember, we're here to gather information, not make promises. The airlocks connected with a soft hiss. Martine stood tall as the door slid open, revealing a being unlike anything humans had ever seen. The Vexari stood about 5 feet tall with smooth blue-gray skin that seemed to shimmer. It had 4 arms and large, expressive eyes that blinked vertically instead of horizontally. I am Krell, the alien said through a translation device at its neck. Commander of Scout Vessel Whisper. Captain Olivia Martinez of Earth, she replied, trying to keep her voice steady. Thank you for making contact. Krell made a gesture with its upper right hand. We have watched many worlds fall to the Council's demands. When we detected your ship, we hoped you might be different. Martinez invited Krell aboard the Pathfinder. In the small conference room, the aliens shared information that changed everything they thought they knew about the Galactic Council. The Council began as a cooperative of space-faring species, Krell explained, displaying star maps on the table's holographic projector. But 3 species, the Therics, Volmar, and Centauri, gradually took control. They created the tribute system to extract resources from developing worlds. How many worlds are paying tribute? Martins asked. Over 200 currently. My homeworld has paid for 53 years. Each year, the demands increase. Now we can barely meet them. And your resistance movement? Krell's large eyes blinked slowly. 27 worlds, all secretly connected. We share information, technology when possible, but none of us can stand against the Council alone. Martinez studied the alien carefully. Why approach us? How do you know Earth won't just surrender? We monitored your communications after the Council's message. Your leaders speak of resistance, not submission. This is rare. Most worlds simply comply out of fear. Martinez contacted Admiral Morgan, who ordered her to bring Krell to Earth, a decision that would change humanity's future forever. 2 days later, in a secure underground facility, Krell stood before Earth's Leadership Council. The alien had agreed to wear a special suit to protect against potential biological contamination, making it look even more otherworldly. The Council's power relies on isolation, Krell explained to the stunned humans. They make each world believe they stand alone against overwhelming force. But united, we might have a chance. Dr. Wright leaned forward eagerly. Your technology, it's different from the Council's. Some of your approaches we've never even considered. Our technologies developed along different paths. Krell agreed. This is why the Council fears alliance between worlds. Together, we create new possibilities. Morgan exchanged looks with Powell and Reeves. What exactly are you proposing? Share information. Combine our technologies. And when the Council comes to collect your tribute, show them something they don't expect. We have less than 3 weeks before they arrive. Powell noted. Not much time to develop new technologies. Krell's translator conveyed what seemed like a laugh. Humans work quickly, from what I've observed. And my ship carries scientific data from many worlds. Together, we might create something new. Morgan stood up, decision made. Dr. Wright, You and your team will work with Krell to develop whatever technological advantages we can. Commander Powell, continue preparing our fleet but incorporate any new information from our ally. John, prepare diplomatic responses for various scenarios. Reeves nodded. And if this goes wrong? Morgan's expression hardened. Then humanity goes down fighting, not submitting. After the meeting, Wright and Harris walked with Krell to the research facility. The alien moved with a fluid grace despite the protective suit. Is this really possible? Harris asked. Can we really stand up to the Council? Krell's large eyes focused on the young scientist. Your world has something the Council doesn't understand. Advanced technology? Wright asked. No, Krell replied. Hope. You still believe you can change your future. Many worlds have lost that. Harris smiled. Then let's not disappoint them. With just 5 days left before the Council arrived, Earth was ready to put its plan into action. Admiral Morgan stood in the massive hangar where the tribute was being prepared. Large containers lined the walls, each marked with the Council's symbol and filled with what appeared to be the demanded minerals and resources. It looks convincing, Reeves said, walking alongside Morgan as they inspected the preparations. Morgan nodded. It should. The outer layers contain exactly what they asked for, just enough to pass a basic scan. Powell joined them, her uniform adorned with new pins showing Earth and Vexari symbols side by side, a small gesture of the alliance that had formed over the past weeks. The fleet is in position, she reported. 5 ships visible, the rest hidden throughout the system. The UES Defiance is ready to serve as our primary defense vessel. The Defiance was Earth's newest and most advanced warship, now enhanced with Vexari technology. Its captain, Paul Winters, had spent the last 2 weeks practicing with the new systems alongside Krell's crew. And our special package? Morgan asked. Powell smiled slightly. Ready for delivery. Dr. Wright and Harris have outdone themselves. In the nearby lab, Wright and Harris worked with Krell and a team of Earth's best scientists, making final adjustments to the real tribute hidden inside the decoy minerals. The Council has seen many technologies, Krell explained, but never this combination. Your approach to quantum computing, combined with our understanding of gravitational manipulation, it's unique. Harris nodded as he sealed the last component. And they'll have no idea until it's too late. Wright looked up from his work. Do you think it will be enough to convince them? Krell's vertical eyelids blinked slowly. The Council respects only 2 things: power and profit. This gives them both reasons to reconsider their approach to Earth. Morgan's voice came through the intercom. Final briefing in 1 hour. Tribute departure in 5 hours. The plan was deceptively simple. Earth would appear to comply with the Council's demands, sending Admiral Morgan herself aboard Earth's flagship to deliver the tribute personally. This would be seen as a sign of respect, while allowing them to position their real response. In the briefing room, Morgan addressed the key team members. In 24 hours, we make first official contact with the Galactic Council, she said, her voice steady. We know from Krell that they'll send 3 ships, 1 main diplomatic vessel, and 2 military escorts. They expect us to arrive with our tribute, transfer it, and return home with our tails between our legs. Reeves stepped forward. I'll accompany Admiral Morgan as Earth's diplomatic representative. Our goal is to keep them talking while our systems analyze their ships and confirm what we've learned from Krell. Powell pointed to the holographic display showing the solar system. Captain Winters will command the Defiance, positioned here behind Jupiter's moon Europa. Our other hidden ships will be at these coordinates. None will move until the signal is given. Morgan continued, Remember, we're not looking for a fight. We're looking to change the relationship. The Council needs to see Earth as a potential partner, not a resource to be drained. And if they don't? Asked Captain Winters, a tall man with steady hands and calm eyes. Then we show them option 2, Morgan replied grimly. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. As the meeting ended, Harris approached Admiral Morgan with a small device. "What's this?" she asked. "A personal shield," Harris explained. "Based on Vexeri technology, but improved. Just in case the meeting goes badly." Morgan slipped the device into her pocket with a nod of thanks. Later, as the Earth delegation prepared to board their ships, Krell approached Morgan one last time. "In 500 years of Council rule," the alien said quietly, "no developing world has ever done what Earth is attempting." Morgan's expression remained determined. "Then it's about time someone did." As the ships lifted off from Earth, millions watched the broadcast. Most believed their leaders were simply complying with alien demands to protect Earth. None knew that humanity was about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The Council ships appeared at the edge of the solar system exactly on schedule. 3 vessels emerged from what looked like tears in the fabric of space. The largest was silver and smooth, while the 2 smaller ships were darker with visible weapon ports along their hulls. Admiral Morgan stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the UES Liberty, watching the alien ships grow larger on the viewscreen. "Impressive," she said quietly. "And intimidating," added Reeves, standing beside her. "That's intentional." The communications officer turned from her station. "Admiral, they're hailing us." Morgan straightened her uniform. On screen, the view screen flickered, showing an alien with pale yellow skin and multiple ridges along its skull. Its eyes were large and completely black. "I am High Executor Zorn of the Therics," the alien said through a translator. "Representative of the Galactic Council. You have brought the required tribute." Morgan stepped forward. "I am Admiral Lisa Morgan of Earth. Yes, we have prepared what you requested." The alien's expression was hard to read, but its tone seemed pleased. "Good. Approach our vessel and prepare to transfer your cargo. We will inspect it before you depart." As their ship moved closer to the Council vessel, Morgan signaled to her crew. Hidden cameras began recording every detail of the alien ships. Sensors analyzed their hull composition, energy outputs, and defense systems. All the data was being relayed back to Earth and to the hidden ships throughout the solar system. "Remember," Morgan said quietly to Reeves, "keep them talking as long as possible." The Liberty docked with the Council ship. Morgan, Reeves, and a small security team prepared to board, each carrying hidden sensors and wearing the personal shields Harris had developed. The airlock opened to reveal a large, brightly lit chamber. High Executor Zorn stood with 4 other aliens. 2 Therics like himself, and 2 from different species that Morgan recognized from Krell's briefings as Volmar and Centauri representatives. "Welcome aboard," Zorn said, his voice cold. "Where is our tribute?" Morgan gestured to the large containers being moved through the airlock by her crew. As requested by the Council, Zorn motioned to his assistants, who began scanning the containers. "Your compliance is noted," the Volmar representative said. "Perhaps in a few decades, Earth might be considered for associate status in the Council." "A few decades?" Reeves asked, playing his role perfectly. "Earth hopes for a more immediate relationship." The aliens exchanged glances. "That is not how things are done," Zorn said dismissively. "Developing worlds must prove their value over time." The scanning crew opened one of the containers, revealing the minerals inside. "The quality is acceptable," one reported. "I'm pleased you find it so," Morgan replied. "However, there's something else we've brought that might interest the Council more." Zorn's black eyes narrowed. The tribute requirements were specific. "Consider this a bonus," Morgan said. She nodded to her security chief, who opened a smaller container they had brought. Inside was a device unlike anything the Council representatives had seen before, a swirling mix of Earth and Vexeri technology, pulsing with blue-green light. "What is this?" demanded Zorn. "A quantum gravitational stabilizer," Morgan explained. "It can create micro-wormholes for instant communication across any distance, something we developed recently." The Council representatives stared in obvious shock. The Centauri moved closer, examining the device without touching it. "This is unexpected," Zorn said finally. "Such technology is beyond what your world should possess." Morgan smiled slightly. "Perhaps your assessment of Earth was incomplete." "Where did you get this?" the Centauri asked sharply. "We made it," Morgan replied. "Earth may be new to the galactic community, but we're quick learners." Zorn and the other representatives moved aside, speaking urgently in their own language. Morgan caught the word impossible several times. When they returned, Zorn's attitude had changed subtly. "The Council will accept this additional tribute. It is wise of Earth to provide more than required." Morgan shook her head. "You misunderstand, High Executor. This isn't additional tribute. It's a gift and a proposal. Earth doesn't wish to be a subject world. We wish to be a trading partner." For the first time, Zorn seemed genuinely surprised. "Trading partner?" "Yes," Morgan said, standing tall. "We have much to offer the galaxy, as equals, not as servants." High Executor Zorn's face darkened with anger. The other council representatives stepped back, seeming to sense the coming storm. "This is not how things are done," Zorn hissed. "The council does not negotiate with developing worlds. You will provide tribute as required or face the consequences." Morgan remained calm. "And what consequences would those be, exactly?" Zorn's hand moved to a device on his wrist. "Your compliance is not optional. We have the power to reduce your cities to ash if we choose." "I suspected as much," Morgan replied. She tapped her own communication device. "Captain Winters, now would be a good time." Zorn laughed. "Your primitive weapons cannot harm our ships." The view screen in the chamber suddenly activated, showing the space around them. The UES Defiance had appeared from behind Jupiter's moon, moving into position near the council vessels. "What is this?" demanded the Volmar representative. "Insurance," Morgan said simply. Zorn sneered. "One small ship against our fleet. You are either brave or foolish." He barked orders into his communication device. Within moments, the two escort vessels began moving toward the Defiance, weapons powering up. Reeves stepped forward. "I strongly suggest you reconsider your actions, High Executor. You dare threaten the Council." Zorn's voice rose in pitch. "Not a threat," Morgan corrected. "An invitation to reason." On the view screen, one of the Council vessels fired a warning shot past the Defiance. Captain Winter's voice came through Morgan's communication device. "Admiral, they've fired. Permission to demonstrate our capabilities." "Granted, Captain. Just the one ship, please." Before Zorn could react, the Defiance released a pulse of energy unlike anything the Council had seen before. The strange blue-green light, the same color as the device Morgan had presented, enveloped one of the Council ships. Its weapons immediately went dark, and the vessel drifted powerless. The chamber fell silent as the Council representatives stared at the view screen. "What have you done?" whispered the Centauri. "Disabled one ship without destroying it," Morgan explained. "The crew is unharmed, but their systems will remain offline for approximately 1 hour." Zorn's black eyes widened. "Impossible. This technology is just the beginning," Morgan interrupted. "And not only Earth possesses it. On cue, ships began appearing throughout the solar system. Earth vessels alongside ships of obviously alien design. The Vexari whispered to cloak directly beside the main Council vessel, along with ships from 5 other species that had joined the Hidden Alliance. "You see, High Executor," Morgan continued, "while you were focused on demanding tribute, we were making friends. This technology is a joint development between Earth and other worlds tired of being exploited." Reeves stepped forward, switching to his diplomatic role. "The Council has a choice to make. Continue treating developing worlds as resources to be harvested and face growing resistance, or embrace a new model of cooperation." Zorn looked from the view screen to the device Morgan had brought aboard, understanding dawning in his eyes. "The Vexari," he said softly. "They've been sharing technology." Sharing is what allies do, Morgan replied. Something the Council might learn from. The remaining Council escort vessel powered down its weapons, clearly unwilling to fight against such odds. Powell's voice came through Morgan's communicator. Admiral, we're receiving signals from throughout the sector. The other resistance cells have begun their demonstrations as planned. Morgan nodded to Reeves, who addressed the Council representatives. This moment was always inevitable. No empire lasts forever when it rules through fear and exploitation. For several long moments, Zorn and the other representatives conferred quietly. Finally, Zorn turned back to Morgan. His posture subtly changed. The Council will need to consider these developments, he said carefully. Perhaps temporary adjustments to our relationship with Earth could be arranged while we consult with the full Council. Morgan shook her head. Not just with Earth, with all worlds currently paying tribute. That is not possible, the Volmar objected. It's either that, Morgan said firmly, or watch your influence crumble system by system. The choice is yours. Zorn looked at the view screen once more, where more ships continued to appear. For the first time in centuries, the mighty Galactic Council faced something they hadn't expected: unity among those they had sought to divide and conquer. 3 months after the standoff with High Executor Zorn, Admiral Morgan stood in the grand meeting chamber aboard the UES Defiance. The ship had been converted to serve as a neutral meeting ground between Earth, the Resistance Alliance, and the Galactic Council. Large viewports showed the blue curve of Earth below and the dozens of ships from different worlds in orbit around the planet. Never thought I'd see this day, Reeves said, adjusting his formal diplomatic uniform as he joined Morgan by the viewport. Morgan smiled slightly. Neither did the Council. The door slid open, and Captain Winters entered with their honored guests. Krell led a delegation of 6 different species that had formed the core of the Resistance. Behind them came Dr. Wright and Ben Harris, now celebrated as the architects of the technology that had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. The Council representatives will arrive in 10 minutes, Winters announced. All security protocols are in place. Morgan nodded. Thank you, Captain. Krell approached Morgan, the Vexari's blue-gray skin shimmering under the chamber lights. My people have waited 53 years for this day. Some thought it would never come. It almost didn't, Morgan replied. If your ship hadn't been watching when we sent out the Pathfinder. The universe works in strange ways, Krell said, a phrase Morgan had come to recognize as a common Vexari expression. The chamber gradually filled with representatives from 27 formerly subjugated worlds. Despite their different appearances, some with multiple limbs, others with scales or feathers, some towering over the humans while others barely reached their knees, they shared a common purpose. A soft tone announced the arrival of the Council delegation. The room fell silent as High Executor Zorn entered, followed by representatives of all 3 dominant Council species and, surprisingly, delegates from 4 other Council member worlds. Zorn looked less imposing than he had 3 months ago. The Council had been forced to adapt quickly as news of Earth's resistance spread throughout the galaxy. Many tribute-paying worlds had simply stopped their payments, protected by the new alliance and its shared technology. Admiral Morgan, Zorn greeted with a stiff nod. The Council is prepared to sign the treaty as negotiated. Morgan stepped forward to a table in the center of the room. On it lay a document, both in digital form and printed on actual paper, a human tradition that had impressed many of the alien species. This treaty marks a new beginning, Morgan said, addressing the entire room. The formation of the Galactic Cooperative, where all species work together for mutual benefit, rather than the enrichment of a few at the expense of many. Reeves stood beside her. Under these terms, the tribute system ends immediately. Trade agreements will be negotiated individually between worlds, with fair terms overseen by representatives from all signatory worlds. Zorn spoke next, his tone formal. The Council acknowledges that the old system has run its course. We join this cooperative as equals, offering our experience in galactic administration and our technological knowledge. One by one, representatives from each world stepped forward to sign or mark the treaty. When Morgan's turn came, she paused, looking around at the gathered beings. When the Council first contacted Earth, they thought they were simply finding another world to harvest, she said. Instead, they found a species that refused to be subjugated, and in doing so, catalyzed the change that so many had been waiting for. After the ceremony, Morgan found herself standing with Powell, Wright, and Harris on the observation deck. Below them, shuttles moved between the orbiting ships, carrying diplomats, scientists, and traders beginning the work of building a truly cooperative galactic community. What happens now? Harris asked, still somewhat overwhelmed by how quickly his life had changed. Now comes the hard part, Powell replied. Making it all work. Wright smiled. But at least we'll be doing it on equal terms. Morgan watched as a Vexeri ship and 2 Council vessels prepared to depart together on a joint scientific mission, something unimaginable just months ago. When they demanded tribute, she said quietly, they never expected our answer would change the galaxy. As Earth rotated below them, humanity took its place among the stars, not as subjects, but as architects of a new galactic future.